Hi everybody, it's the 2nd of June, Tuesday. We are here outside Salford City Council. Couple of points. I'm not usually a fan of brutalist architecture, but sometimes it works. I like big windows, I like symmetry, and the kind of greyish, kind of pebble-dashed concrete hasn't aged too badly. But you know, praising the architecture is one thing, but let's denigrate, that's a good word, denigrate the graphic designer that worked for the council and decided that naff, tacky, early 90s Fresh Prince of Bel-Air shock pink was an acceptable color to have in the 21st century. I'm sure I watched a Veitch documentary on YouTube where there was a prison warden in America who painted all his prisoners that exact color to humiliate them. Speaking of America, let's just make sure, I've got a new phone case, I don't want it to get on, yeah, it's fine. Speaking of America, I'm here to give you the Veitch view on the Great American Race War of 2020. Like many of you, I'm absolutely captivated by, and captivated in a horrified way, much like you could use the word impressed if something left an impression. My brain and my eyeballs and my soul is held captive by watching footage of the protests, but also the riots, the looting, the fights, the mobs, the hordes, the violence. And I think my privileged position as a half Brazilian, half Scottish man, I mean, I'm doing a video now about the race war. Let's talk a bit about race. Now, I consider myself white. My mum is Brazilian, descended from the Portuguese, obviously European. My dad is basically Aryan, blonde, blue-eyed, Nordic, Scotsman, and I carry those genes. Now, many people consider me Hispanic or mixed race, but no, you're not understanding the Brazilian racial thingy. Anyone that's European, even if your skin is mahogany, you're from southern Iberia, and you're mahogany skinned if you're Caucasian, if you're not African descended or Native American, then you're white. But as someone who is mixed from around the world, allow me to kind of paint a picture here. Now we're going to do the centrists, Randy Pan, the reasonable man take on what's happening in America. But we'll start off, obviously, with the killing of George Floyd. Like many of you, I of course have watched the video, and the man was murdered. Whether he died of a heart attack or whether they paid off some celebrity famous coroner that will literally just, you know, who pays the piper calls the tune. They did it for, oh God, fucking hell. There's celebrity coroners or autopsy people in America that will literally, if you pay them $100,000 and say, right, my kid got run over, you go, oh no, he died of a brain hemorrhage, even though he got hit by an 18-wheeler, body blown to pieces. No, he died of advanced early onset Parkinson's. So regardless of why George Floyd died, you do not pin a man down crooked with your knee on his neck for 8-9 minutes in front of everyone, and the three other officers not helping. Clearly there's enough evidence there to arrest and charge the man with third-degree murder and manslaughter. But that hasn't pacified the crowds. Now, much as we saw in the 2011, or was it 2010, the London riots, the Manchester riots, the Salford riots, it was a trigger. There's a trigger. I think it was the shooting of Mark Duggan. Or was it Anthony? There's a few, I guess, black or mixed race young men that have been killed by British police, but it doesn't seem to be as pervasive a problem as in the United States of America. But we had riots here as well, race riots, I guess them. But one thing I will say, and again, it's possible to be able to see that George Floyd's death was a bad criminal murder or manslaughter, and also condemn the mass looting, robbing, assaults, the calls to violence, the calls for blood, I mean, do you guys remember, was his name Reginald Denny at Los Angeles, 1992? He had a massive 18-wheeler truck, and the horde were like, no, you stop. And he was like, you know, massive, powerful vehicle. And he slowed down, and the crowds, the rioters, pulled him from his truck. And let's talk about the races. It was a black crowd, and he was a white truck driver. And they left him with life-changing mental injuries. And I smile at a nervousness. Someone commented on the last video, you're smiling when you discuss bad things, tragedy. Sorry, do you want me to be sad the whole time? No, it's just a nervous thing, I guess. You're like, So Reginald Denny got dragged from his car, his truck, and beaten almost to death for being white. Now, there's footage of trucks in America yesterday, day before, a lot of trucks, whether they're medium-sized FedEx trucks, whether they're 18-wheelers. There was a tanker as well. The tanker made a mistake. He was going for the crowd. I don't think he wanted to hit anyone, but he changed his mind. He stopped. And what did the horde do? They got him out, they beat him up, and he's in hospital. So as Bill Hicks said, step on the gas, man. You're faced with a violent horde, a mob of thugs who are there to beat the shit out of white people because you were born with the original sin of being white. Let's forget that during the Enlightenment it was actually white people that risked their lives, their whole families to save black people. Let's forget that 200,000 white people gave their lives to liberate the slaves in the South in America during the Civil War. 200,000 white people died because slavery is wrong. Now, anyone with an ounce of critical thinking, or with, I guess, a high enough resolution mind, can see that racism, to discriminate against a human being on the basis of the genetics they have inside. No, you're getting it all wrong. You are thinking materialism is the be-all and end-all because you're not quite thinking it through. Every single human being on Earth, whether they're Eskimo, Chinese, bloody Japanese, Indian, Sub-Saharan African, North African, Brazilian. It's not about what you have, it's your ability to have a critical mind, a sentient mind, your ability to sympathize, empathize, and to feel compassion for other people. Trust me, these hordes you see beating people up for being white, going on Twitter, calling for the murder of whites. I saw an Antifa, is it pronounced Antifa? Antifa tweet saying, right, we've smashed up the city centers, we've looted all the shops, let's go into the white neighborhoods and take back what's ours. Now, there's no way to do that without a lot of violence. So, what I recommend, now look, going forward, oh yeah, let me go finish my little piece. It's not the color of your skin or whether you're Sub-Saharan African. I mentioned in a video recently, I reckon I'm 4% Neanderthal. It's not even a bloody human. This is an archaic proto-human. And Sub-Saharan Africans, the research came out last year. Look it up in the New Scientist, Nature, it's all there, all very mainstream. They have the same as white people or Chinese people. They have between 1 and 4% also some archaic proto-human. It wasn't Neanderthals. The Sahara Desert was a kind of barrier. So you've had different groups, various different species of human competing. Then Homo sapien rose up. But Homo sapien was so successful, they didn't just wipe out and kill all their opposition. They bred with them too. Raping and pillaging. Bad Homo sapiens. And in Africa, the Homo sapiens raped and pillaged against those archaic proto-humans, and in Europe, the ancient Homo sapiens raped and pillaged the Neanderthals, and in Asia, the Homo sapiens raped and pillaged the Denisovans. Now, it's not as simple as that, but it does explain why different races look different. But that's a surface material thing. What you really want to consider is the intelligence, as I said, the sentience, the consciousness inside. Whew. There are a plethora, millions, thousands of black people who are smarter than you. My viewers watching this, you're probably white. Probably. I've got a few black viewers, I hope. But there's a lot of black people who are smarter than you. There's a lot of Chinese people who are smarter than you. And there's obviously a lot. So look, what I'm trying to say is to quantify, pigeonhole, and discriminate by which archaic proto-human your ancestors bred with, it's not correct. If you're a Christian, if you're Jewish, if you've got any Judeo-Christian empathy in you, you know that every man, every woman, every child is created in God's image is equally important. But coming back to the riots, you know, you guys all get annoyed. I always bring in a bit of my, I don't know what it is, my views. But Donald Trump is bringing in the army, not just the National Guard, not just a bunch of volunteers with a few little beanbag shotguns. He's called in the army into Washington, D.C. The army with the M240 GPMGs, with the M4 carbines, with the Humvees, with the automatic grenade launchers. It's not good. It's not a good look. So, you know, every night I was like, this is going to peter out. This is going to fade. It's not going to get worse. But we've got 7 nights now. It's tonight, night 8, 2nd of June. My God, how long is it going to go on for? And, you know, as someone watching, you know, especially on 5th Avenue in New York, is it that there's just so many of them, I guess, you know, when they're smashing up DKNY, or I just got a message there, sorry, we forgot the scooter. It's okay. Anyway, I hope it's still recording. When we're smashing up, like, you know, Ted Baker, not Ted Baker, Tommy Hilfiger, Calvin Klein, DKNY on 5th Avenue, why isn't that being stopped by the police? This, I guess, like the London riots, when there's tens of thousands of people and you've only got 1,000 policemen and there's 10,000 people smashing shit up, 10 to 1, you're not going to commit suicide as a cop and go in there. And it's not like you can use your gun. You know, I've seen videos of store owners with pump-action shotguns outside their gold store or their pawn shop in America. And there's a giant mob of people who want to rob it. And they must be, nobody got shot because shotgun carries what, 6 cartridges, 8 cartridges, maybe less, 4 cartridges. So what, you shoot 2 or 3 people and you get beaten to death and have your shotgun rammed down your throat with your skull split open by the other 9,998 that are there to get you. So my view is that, to come back to the overarching message, the metaphysics, the meta-position, the meta-narrative, is that the killing of George Floyd was murder and it was disgusting. But what's equally, actually probably 10 times worse, is having giant violent mobs, thousands strong, going around, and there's that, it's like watching footage of a piranha attack or a shark attack. I am not associating black people with animals, which is what you're all going to think. We're all mammals, we're all human beings, but when you have an unthinking mob that will just attack someone just because they're the wrong color and beat them to death, or nearly to death, give them brain damage, it is like you're watching National Geographic. It is like a David Attenborough show. And it's terrifying. And like, here's the thing. There's, across the planet right now, I bet you, there are tens of millions of people, well, hundreds of millions, maybe even billions of people who are interested, who are looking at this, and who are unable to differentiate or to basically see George Floyd's murder as wrong, and then to also be against the violent, nasty mob riots. People are very tribal. The truth is tribal for most people. Most people, whether you're white, black, brown, red, Asian, whatever, you know, most people cannot elevate their minds to the higher resolution view. Anyway, that's enough of this. There's some council. Let's see if we can go see them. Let's see if we can go wind them up. It's always good to end on a slightly more dramatic note. I think they've lost interest in me. But there was some very stern-looking council employees that were having a look. No, but they've lost interest. I'll pan round slowly. They were stood there in the doorway with their arms crossed. Oh my God, he talked about race. Thank you for watching. This is Charlie Veitch on the 2nd of June of 2020, the year of the happening.